Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran, covering some legendary updates live from the Venthyr Sanctum on my Death Knight. Gonna be hopping on a couple different characters, showing you guys some of the new legendaries that were added in patch 9.1. And now we know kind of what are some of the different things that Blizzard is looking to add in this patch when it comes to new Legos. Of course, you have different class abilities that they can enhance or different cooldowns, but this time it looks like the focus with these legendaries in 9.1 is going to be the Covenant abilities. Death Knight Covenant abilities, so one for every Covenant. You have the Rogue ones, you have the Mage ones. We only have a few to test so far, even less than what the list is, but I want to take a look at them, tell you guys my thoughts on them, show you some of them off because I can't show all of them. But anyway, let's get into today's legendary video. So I am gonna be upfront with you guys. I can't show you every single Lego. There are a couple different reasons as to why. First of all, the NPCs back in Oribos are kind of stuck in this quest that you got to do for 9.1, and until Blizzard fixes them, you cannot swap your Covenants to Carrion or Night Fae. You, however, can swap to Necrolord and Venthyr, as long as your character hasn't been those Covenants before. So some of you guys might have actually swapped Covenants on your characters. I definitely have on some of my characters, like Warriors as Venthyr. I want Necrolord to try the banner. Since that character already was Venthyr, you can't go back to Venthyr until you do that 2-week quest chain. So if Blizzard could remove that for PTR testing, that would be wonderful, so people could test all the different Legos, especially those that are tied with Covenants. We're going to start off with Death Knights, as Death Knights have a few different legendaries. The first one is going to be in the Venthyr Covenant. The legendary itself is going to be right here. It's a non-spec specific Lego called Insatiable Hunger. When Swarming Mist ends, which is a Covenant ability, it deals 1,222 shadow damage. I think this scales with strength to 5 nearby enemies, healing you for 25% of the damage dealt. The damage is increased by 2% for every 1 runic power spent while Swarming Mist was active. So Swarming Mist is an ability that's active for 8 seconds. So if you could just spend a bunch of rune power during that time, then you might be able to do quite a bit of damage, because it'll increase the damage of this ability by 2% for every 1 runic power. So spending 10 gives you, what, 20% damage increase? On a Frost Death Knight together with Breath of Sindragosa, it could potentially be the play. So I'm not great at dual wield Frost DK, but I'm pretty sure it plays almost exactly the same as the normal playstyle. So if you play it kind of like how BFA Death Knight played it before, we're gonna go for a big go here and try to spend runic power as quickly as we can. Try to build up the damage for this. It looks like we have a 374 damage, and then there goes the big explosion. Insatiable Hunger exploded on everybody for 7,000 damage. So it healed us for quite a bit too, since it did 37.6k damage there. It healed us for 25% of that, so that's a pretty decent heal. Swarm Mist itself as an ability does damage its own. You can see this Lego does quite a bit of damage on its own as well, and it's up every time Swarm Mist is available. So this together could be a very strong combination for Death Knights, potentially good in keys, potentially good in single target, better for any specs that are all about spending runes. The next one we can take a look at and test is going to be with a Night Fae Covenant. I know, Death Knights is Night Fae, you probably don't see a lot of those, but it's actually super fun as my 2-hand Frost DK. So on the Night Fae side, you have Rampant Transference, where your Covenant ability, Death's Due, the strength gained from Death's Due is increased by 1%, so normally it gives you a 2% buff for strength, and persists for 2 seconds longer, so Death's Due will last a little bit longer. While standing within your Death's Due, your runic power generation is increased by 20%. Seems like a decent all-rounder. On single target, it looks kind of okay in terms of the performance. The strength buff you can get is actually kind of nuts. You can actually see it up here, so I got it to 6. We can get it to 12%, so it is 4% more strength if you can stack it all the way to full, which for Frost Death Knights can be quite a bit of damage. For other specs, it also can be quite a bit of damage as well. I actually don't mind it, and I maybe could see myself running this legendary in some situations. For Blood Death Knights, you would be able to gain even more value from Death's Due, since you can get procs to reset Death's Due window, as in you can get Death and Decay back faster from combat. And together with this legendary, you're buffing that Death and Decay, Death's Due interaction as well. So that could be a lot more runic power generation as well. The other legendaries for the other Covenants, the ones we cannot test, are going to be Abomination's Limb, or Abomination's Frenzy that buffs Abomination's Limb. It buffs its duration by 4 seconds. Frequency it grants you passives for Frosted Ruby Rhyme is increased by 2 seconds. Additionally, enemies pulled by Abomination Limb take 10% increased damage from you for 12 seconds. I don't think this works on bosses because you can't really pull a boss to you, but in trash packs for ads, This is wonderful, especially if you want to move enemies from one area to another. So you will want to have it pull enemies, it looks like. This would be great for PvP. I mean, 10% more damage from that is great. I don't think it stacks, but you know, I can't really test it myself since this guy originally was a Necrolord, and they will not take me back. The final one is going to be Final Sentence. I think it's fitting, but the Kyrian ability, you can't swap to Kyrian right now, or at least I'm unable to swap to Kyrian at the moment. The Shackle and Worthy ability, whenever it spreads, you instantly gain Rune, which could be quite good for Rune generation in AoE. This could be great for all specs on damage and tank in front as well. And your damage is increased by 2%, stacking up to 10% for 10 seconds. So the maximum you can get is 10% more damage, but if you can constantly have Shackle and Worthy spreading, it can give you runes back very, very quickly, which can be more tanking capabilities to maintain your bone shield, which also means you generate a lot more since you're getting runes back faster. You get rune power very quickly. This one seems really good for AoE, however. It doesn't seem any value in single target. So it looks like they're finding like ways to make these abilities better for single target or better for AoE or enhance them in some way. I do wonder how all these Legos will perform when it comes to sims, but until they're simmed, my favorite one is Insatiable Hunger. I like how it modifies the ability and just gives you a more active playstyle. The Desdew seems like a nice passive, could be good. I think Abomination's Frenzy has potential since Abomination's Limb is that good of an ability. Final Sentence could be good for AoE. We don't really know. I have a good feeling about Insatiable Hunger for now though, but you guys let me know which one you think is your favorite. Next we have Druids, and for Druids, for now, we only have 2 Legendaries, only one of them we can look at because I recently got this guy out of the Venthyr Covenant, so I can't test Sinful Hysteria, but we can test Wrathful Swarm. So there are 2 Covenant abilities. These are pretty simple compared to the Death Knight. Wrathful Swarm, Legendary. Adaptive Swarm has a 30% chance to split into 2 swarms each time it jumps. So every time you use it, like let's say you use it on yourself, it'll have a stack of 3. That means it'll jump a few more times until the stacks are completely gone. If the swarm is on an enemy, then the next jump will be to an ally. If the swarm is on an ally, then it will jump to an enemy. So if the swarm is on me, and it jumps to an enemy, with this legendary it has a chance to split and have a copy of that swarm on 2 enemies instead of 1, which has some interesting interactions with its stacks. The proc chance is kind of low for me. That's kind of what it looks like when it does properly proc, and this could give you quite a bit of AoE potential, which the Necrolord ability is very single target focused. So I guess it could offer a play style there, and I like how they jumped back into me and there's a 4 stack. So if they constantly get them to jump to 2 targets, can't I always get you know, the jump away, then they build up back to 4 stacks? Wait, could you just have this like as a infinite phase? Wait, this is actually kind of neat. If you get super lucky with this Lego, you could always have like constant max stacks of swarm if you get super lucky. The next one is going to be Sinful Hysteria. It modifies your Ravenous Frenzy. Each time Ravenous Frenzy is applied, its duration is increased by 0.2 seconds. The way that Ravenous Frenzy for Venthyr works, while you're inside of the frenzy, every ability you use, whether it's a heal, a dispel, any kind of action that uses a global cooldown, grants you a stack. These are the stacks that the Legendary talks about. These stacks grant you more damage, more haste, with a Conduit, more crit, and with Sinful Hysteria Legendary, for every one of those stacks, longer duration by 0.2 seconds. So you could have a longer time inside of Ravenous Frenzy. From my testing, however, and I took my Druid to the Venthyr, I tried playing Venthyr. Maybe this Covenant will be better with better gear in a couple patches, but to me it didn't seem all that strong. I wonder if there's any Venthyr Druids right now that can maximize this, and if they think this could be good. I don't think the Venthyr ability for Druid seems super strong right now, so maybe it would need a buff before this Legendary could see some play. Next we have Mages, and with Mages we'll start off with Kyrian. We got a couple different Legos, everything but Night Fae. And with Kyrian, we'll start off with Harmonic Echo. Damage dealt to enemies affected by Radiant Spark's vulnerability Echo to 4 nearby enemies for 25% of the damage dealt. The way Radiant Spark works is it'll put a dot on the enemy, and then it'll also add an extra debuff. Every time you hit the enemy, the next spell is going to do more damage. It starts at 10% more damage, then 20, then 30, then 40. And with this Legendary, those damage enhanced abilities, the ones that have the damage increase, those are the spells that will end up echoing to AoE enemies. So as you hit it, you'll see it kind of like echo to others. As it stacks up the 4 stacks, and then bam, final stack does a bit of damn too. Together, this does quite a bit of AoE damage. Harmonious Echo is the AoE counterpart. This is just my opener, so you probably need to DPS these guys for quite a while, but Radiant Sparkle on its own doesn't do any AoE. Harmonious Echo adds AoE, and it actually does quite a bit of damage too, as you can see. So this turns the Covenant ability from pure single target into full AoE. The thing is that I never get to test is, does this have any single target potential at all? Can it echo to the target I'm attacking? And it looks like it doesn't. You'd see there's no charges of Harmonious Echo at all. So this seems really good for pure AoE fights. Transforming a Covenant ability that's mostly single target into maybe a potential decent AoE. Next we have the Venthyr Covenant ability, and this one actually had a guildie of mine help me out because of the way that the Venthyr ability works with Mirrors of Torment. The enemy that you mark with mirrors have to have auto attacks or cast spells. So putting it on a normal train dummy, I really couldn't test it, so big thanks to Faded in the guild for helping me out. Test Sinful Delight Legendary. Consuming Brain Freeze, or this will be the Missiles proc for your Arcane Mage, or using Fire Blast as a Fire Mage. Consuming the proc related to your spec reduces the cooldown of Mirrors of Torment by 3 seconds, so it does give cooldown reduction to Mirrors of Torment so you can use more often. If Mirrors of Torment is dispelled, the cooldown is reduced by 45 seconds, which makes me think that this ability at first was more of a PvP style legendary, because in PvE, nothing really gets dispelled. Technically, it's not a bad one, as this does give you more resources, and my mage isn't geared, so probably not a great example, but I imagine on a geared mage. That's more Fire Blast for your fire, that's more Arcane Missiles for your Arcane Mage, more Flurry procs with Brain Freeze procs for your Frost, so technically it is more resources. And the fact that Mirrors of Torment is a shorter cooldown because of this, I think it ends up being about a minute CD or so. At least I would say roughly a minute CD, something along those lines, depending on how lucky you are with procs. But I don't know, it didn't really seem that strong of a legendary to me off bat. Maybe it'll have really good functionality once people sim it, but to me it just didn't feel nearly as good as some of the other options mages already have. And finally, my favorite for mages is going to be the Necrolord Legendary. This one I think could be awesome, but maybe I just love the way it looks, or maybe I'm just a huge fan of the Necrolord Legendary skeleton form. But Death's Fathom is a legendary name. With Death's Fathom, your Fireball, Frostbolt, and Arcane Blast have a chance, it doesn't say exactly what the chance is, but have a chance to grant Deathborn, the Covenant ability, for 8 seconds. While in a form of a skeletal mage, the spell damage granted is increased by 1% for each enemy hit by Fireball, Frostbolt, or Arcane Blast. So now we have to look at the actual Deathborn ability. So Deathborn is a 3-minute cooldown. You cast to transform into a powerful skeletal mage. While in this form of skeletal mage, Frostbolt, Fireball, Arcane Blast hit up to 2 enemies near your target, so they cleave. And your spell damage is increased by 15, so all your spells do 15% more damage. So Death Fathom, while inside of Deathborn, the more enemies hit by Arcane Blast, which can cleave, increases the damage your spells do. So you can kind of ramp up the damage you do while you're in the skeletal form, which can make it a far more powerful cooldown. And just like that one legendary for Shamans, where they can activate Ascendance when you use some of their base abilities, by using your base abilities like Fireball, Frostbolt, and Arcane Blast, you have a chance to give yourself Deathborn. While inside of Deathborn, it also extends the duration, so you can actually have Deathborn for a while if you get lucky, especially if you have multiple enemies to hit. So let's get ourselves the full setup rolling here with Deathborn, and we'll just start blasting the veteran as much as we can. Now, we don't always need to be Arcane Blasting here, because it is a little bit mana intensive. So we will use other abilities, and you can see just how much extra damage you do. 25%, 26%. If we are lucky with the Arcane Blast procs, that would be great to see Deathborn extended. I don't know if we'll get it here, though. It looks like we will not. Yeah, we will not. So at the end, we had quite a bit of extra damage on this Arcane Blast. We're not a geared mage. So for this character, as low item level as we are, which is, we are 175 item level, which isn't high at all. Our criticals for Arcane Blast to do 11k is not terrible, especially when you can use them back to back to back. All right, we have full burst ready to go with Deathborn, and we're just gonna start blasting it with Arcane Blast and watching out for its duration. There we go, it extended. It just gained a few seconds for itself. I wonder if it has a maximum, like maximum seconds that it can have for it, but it did get extended just now. Let's keep trying and playing it out with a full burst setup. We will use missiles from time to time. I'm really hoping we get another extension for it. But look, 26% more damage, 27% more damage. We're reaching that 30% very, very quickly. and hopefully like this will just maybe give me another proc. Okay, so it's not capped out at 30. We got 32. Could have had 33 if I just kept blasting. I think this will be much easier if I actually set myself up with the mana gem, so I could just continue blasting, and it would be easy with time warp too. But yeah, this is really cool. I think this one has a lot of potential for mages to maybe be good. We've already have seen some arcane mages go Necrolord at the top end of the game, like Mythic Pluses and maybe even Raids, because it's not terrible with that spec. But this could be maybe a game changer. The next one is going to be Warrior, and we have a couple different Legos. The first one is going to be the Necrolord Warrior. My favorite playstyle. I like the banner. So why don't we buff the banner even more? So Glory is the name of the legendary. Conqueror's banner affects 1 additional ally, and every 20 rage you spend while it's active increases the duration of the banner by half a second. So as a Fury Warrior, you generate quite a lot of rage and spend quite a lot of rage in big bulks with Rampage. So you can give it quite a bit of a duration. So the way the banner works is you brandish the banner on your back, granting you and 2 allies 400 mastery and 30% movement speed increase. So this will give a third player a 400 mastery buff, which is quite significant. It goes from 1200 mastery for the group to 1600. Basic math here, but this could be really good if it's on the right classes. Banner's a 2-minute cooldown, which lines up with other class cooldowns. Like Banner just becomes not your cooldown, but a group cooldown, which I think is an interesting way of playing the game. Not everybody's going to be into it, but I've been a fan of it so far. So let's actually do this. Let's try it out for ourselves, see how long of a CD we can have for it. We'll just go for the full rage setup, give ourselves the most rage possible. And we'll go for the full burst here, full banner burst, and try to see how long of a buff we can have it. And if we get super lucky on the procs as a Fury Warrior, we could get ourselves in a really good spot. I probably could have ran different talents here because I'm running the same talents to run with the King's Legendary. It's probably not optimal by any measure, but as you can see, I mean, our Reckless is down and we still have the banner for quite a while. Another Rampage here, perfect. Can we just get a bunch of Raging Blows proccing back to back? Yes. Another, it fell off. Okay, it doesn't matter at that point. Past the fall off point, it literally doesn't matter. And we were able to get the banner to be 33 seconds. That's exactly what I was able to do last time when I tested this off camera. This is cool. So the banner can be double the duration. So 400 mastery lasts longer and it gives you more rage overall. Movement speed is kind of cool. The lack of slow is also kind of cool. But this is awesome. I'm a fan. This could be huge. Although not every single class in the game has big cooldowns that last a long while. Like a Demon Hunter, where they have the full duration of Metamorphosis, probably would get value. I don't know how big Mastery is, but let's imagine Mastery is a really good stat for them. During Metamorphosis, which lasts full 30 seconds, this is 30 seconds of a Mastery buff. For mages, their burst is really just in Combustion, which is like the first 10 to 15 seconds. Afterwards, Mastery just kind of doesn't really do much for them. I mean, everybody still has Mastery, but no one has the big cooldown, so you kind of lose out on the value, and that's where other legendaries maybe could be good. But if you have a group like in a raid where you want that mastery, adding an extra person could be huge on its own. In raid, you can put it against classes that do have very long-term CDs that last for a while, classes that get the most benefit from mastery. There's just so many things to consider, but I'm a huge fan of this change. I think this buffs the banner to be even better, and I personally would end up actually considering running this legendary just because it seems so fun, and I feel like the value could be pretty big, especially if you have like a full Mythic Plus group and everybody there plus the tank can benefit big with the mastery buff. The other legendaries we cannot test. This warrior started as a Venthyr, so we can't use Sinful Surge, but this one is probably going to be overpowered. Let's just call a spade a spade. Condemn extends the duration of Recklesses by 3 seconds. I'm pretty sure it extends the duration of Avatar for Prot by 3 seconds, maybe more. Let's actually check it in Prot. Prot, it is last stand by 4 seconds. Now that is interesting. I honestly thought it was going to be Avatar, but it increases one of your bigger cooldowns, even though with Prot, you don't have enough rage to spend on an execute ability. You're just trying to keep yourself alive more than literally 95% of the time. So only if you have room to spend for damage, maybe this could be okay in some situations, but you really have to manage your rage. But let's take a look at arms just to make sure we have it. Pretty sure it's going to be Colossus Smash debuff, and it is Colossus Smash, but it's different. It's only by 1.5 seconds. So for arms and Fury, Sinful Surge just seems OP. Extra duration on your Recklesses, extra duration of Colossus Smash, especially as arms in the opener. You're basically just charging in, smash, and then spam and condemn over and over and over. You could really just have it out there for quite a while. Finally is Nature's Fury for the Night Fae Warriors. What this legendary does is Ancient Aftershock's duration, like the actual mosaic that it leaves on the ground, the painting on the ground, it is increased by 3 seconds, and enemies inside of the Ancient Aftershock take 525 nature damage over 6 seconds, stacking 6 times. When it comes to the actual Ancient Aftershock ability, the biggest hit for it is going to be, and I just made sure to check with logs as well, Ancient Aftershock initial hit. Afterwards, it leaves that residual thing on the ground where enemies take dot damage, and it's not super important. I mean, it's better if the tank can keep the mobs in there, but if the tank needs to move, it's probably better for the tank to move in the key. You do majority of the damage, the residual dot damage while to stand in the Ancient Aftershock, that kind of hurts. But this will just add even more damage to already a strong Covenant ability inside of Mythic Pluses, although enemies have to really stay in there. So this one is, I don't know, it could be good. I think damage-wise is going to be fantastic if the tank keeps the mobs in there. It could be really good damage on paper. It maybe could be pretty good damage single target in the Sims. We haven't looked at the Sims at all because there are none for these yet. I feel like this one can be okay, but doesn't seem nearly as strong as some of these other ones, really. But that's all the Legos we have to work with right now, guys. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Let me know what your thoughts in the comments below. Really do let me know, because again, YouTube and viewer interaction and all that, it just keeps trying to promote it. So seriously, let me know which ones are your favorite, which ones you found interesting, which ones do you think have potential to become actually good. Like, could you see any of these Legos become the best Lego for any of these classes in 9.1? We'll probably see more Legos with it next patch. Give this video a like if you enjoyed the regular content and if you enjoyed the coverage of this video. And seriously, let me know your thoughts. What do you think about these Legos? Thank you so much for watching. I do hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see all of you guys in another video.